Good evening. We'd like to call to order the September meeting of the school board here at Fairborn. Mr. Philo, could you call?
Ms. Landon. Here. Mrs. Milad.
Here.
Mr. Steininger.
Here.
Mr. McCord.
Here.
Mr. Browning.
Here. Could we stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Philo?
Ms. Landon.
Yes.
Mr. Steininger. Yay. Mrs. Milad.
Yes.
Mr. McCord.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes. Motion carried. Next is to approve the minutes of the Thursday, August 2nd regular meeting and the Thursday, August 24th work session. If I could get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Philo?
Mr. McCord.
Yes.
Mrs. Milad.
Yes.
Ms. Landon.
Yes.
Mr. Steininger.
Yay.
Mr. Browning.
Yes. Motion carried. Next is board reports and good of the order. Wendy, would you like to start?
Sure, absolutely, thank you. Fairborn Intermediate held Parent Information Night to help parents understand and learn everything at our intermediate school. The watchdogs are also present at the school and are helping in so many ways. So thank you to our dad's group. I'd also like to say I really enjoyed working last Friday, volunteering I should say, here at the high school for Unity Day. And I just want to give a shout out to all the volunteers that helped, and then everyone that helped organize, because it was such a great event. It was a beautiful day for our students, so thank you.
All right. Baker Middle School held an incredible welcome back event for students. Clubs, sports teams, and community organizations had information available for students and families as they visited to pick up schedules. So we want to say a great shout out to the Baker staff. In addition, I want to congratulate everyone on a fabulous start to the year. We've heard from a lot of different quarters that it's been a good start and better than in years past even, so that's really, really nice to hear. And on the Unity Day front, I did have a few kids at my house this weekend, and they said, it was okay. So if you know teenagers, that's like raving praise. So good job.
Thank you to the Helping Hands group from the First Presbyterian Church for volunteering the first few days of school to help students find their classrooms. And also thanks to the FHS Leo Club and the FCS Student Ambassadors for their assistance with the football food drive in partnership with the Fairborn Fish Pantry. Fairborn City Schools provides volunteers, flyers, and the box truck to support the effort at the Fairborn Kroger. And also thanks to the Kroger manager, Mr. Brent Green, for his support of the Fairborn community, and obviously, and also Bill and Jane Dorley for their leadership with the pantry. The Fairborn Fish Pantry helps our community and our neighbors. So thanks to all of them. Also, I guess I would like to thank or say congratulations to the football team on their first victory of the season. You know, I've been around that group of guys and coaches for a while this year just to kind of watch and see what we got going. And it's different. It's different, and I think it's a good different. We've got some good coaches out there who I think are coaching up the kids, and the kids seem to be responding. So congratulations to our football team, and also our other sports are well underway. And if you get a chance to get around and visit any of the other sporting events going on, I think you'll be very happy with what you see. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, Fairborn Primary School is keeping up with attendance. Classes with perfect attendance are recognized on social media. The primary school PTO will also be having an annual mum sale this Friday, September 8th, from 5 to 7. And spiritware will also be available. Cash, cards will be accepted. These mums are beautiful. I've had the opportunity in the past to have to unload the truck. Many of them, and it's kind of stunning how fast they disappear. So if you want one, you better get there early, otherwise your color options may be unlimited. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, one of the points I have is about Unity Day, and I'm not gonna steal the thunder from the presentation, but I thought it was an outstanding day. I got to participate actually at one of the tables to talk about Six Sigma problem solving with the students, and I'm telling you, I loved being able to interact with those students during that time. And there seemed to be a lot of excitement and engagement of the students as they went table to table and talked about things. So I won't say anything else, I'll let them talk about it. The football team, you know, they lost their first 2 games, but they were in those games. And I've seen improvement every week, and they kind of came together against West Carrollton Friday night. And like Pat said, there's a great group of coaches, great group of kids, and they're working hard, so it'll come together. I was able to go to the senior night for cross country, and that was a neat event in terms of recognizing the kids across country. And for people that don't know it, the governor showed up because he was there actually watching, I think it's a grandson that goes to Cedarville. So that was kind of neat for the kids. And our cheerleaders, I thought, got a great picture with him. It's one of the best pictures I've seen of our cheerleaders with the governor. So that's it. We can move on to recognition of visitors.
Mr. President, I have one person signed up. Person is Raina Deal. Raina, if you come up here to the microphone. You have 5 minutes to address your comments to the Board of Education. When you get close to the time, I will signal you.
Good evening. I wanted to speak today to ask you to table the indoor training facility resolution. I believe this project should wait until the middle school is built. The middle school project will have to be built with the state's minimums, and in order to do any upgrades, we, the district, will need to add to the cost. Different factors came into play with the high school and raised the cost of building it. I believe the same thing can happen with the middle school. The future is unknown when it comes to rising costs. The project was first proposed as a $3 million project a month ago to myself and a few others. And in just a month, the cost has risen to $3.5 million. How much more will it cost the district when it's all said and done? How much will be taken away from the middle school project? We have an amazing high school that's getting built, and we need an amazing middle school next door. As a mother of 3 female student athletes in this district that have graduated, they all could have benefited from an excellent training program. They could have gotten this with the weight room that they already have in this building. I question if we will be able to staff with the qualified professionals to train all of the athletes with or without these facilities. I don't look at this as a need with all that is needed in this district. I'm not saying don't do the indoor training facility. I'm saying do it after we have the middle school that our kids deserve to be built. That our kids deserve. Get built, whatever. I have spoken to others about this, and they feel similar to how I feel. So just because I'm the only voice here speaking, I'm not the only voice that believes this. If this does go forward, which I don't think it should, with the band storage, I wasn't a band mom. Maybe there's a need, I don't know. I would like to know, though, if this training facility is going to go forward, what will be done with the space that was going to be the weightlifting training facility in our high school? Could that be used as a facility for the band? Thank you.
Okay. So next is district presentations. Mr. Law.
Good evening, everyone. We have a few presentations here tonight. And we'll start with the first presentation of the New York City class trip. Here tonight are our 2024 senior class balls, Fairborn's finest.
behalf of the class of 2024. I am Jessica Cleaves, and I'm the class president. With me tonight are Vice President Jada Eskridge, Secretary Ryan Gapinski, Treasurer Peyton Bear, Assistant Treasurer Ewan Nguyen, and Historian Hader Askar. We are here tonight to present a proposal for our senior class trip. Since 2004, it has been a tradition at Fairborn High School for the seniors to go on an educational trip to New York City. The trip will entail visiting museums, the Top of the Rock, Statue of Liberty, and many other exciting attractions. While we are in New York, we plan to see a Broadway musical. Groups will also create their own itineraries in between the planned activities.
We plan to travel by bus to New York the evening of Wednesday, March 20th, and return Sunday, March 24th. The trip will cost each student $825. This includes transportation to and from New York, as well as transportation in Manhattan, lodging, meals, Broadway show tickets, visiting the Statue of Liberty, the Top of the Rock, and other activities. Payments will be collected monthly starting in October.
We will be working with Junior Tours, the company that has been used for the past 14 trips. Seniors can offset some of the cost of the trip by participating in fundraisers. The main fundraiser will be the world's finest chocolates candy club sale. We will also be asking the community and local businesses to help by donating various items to help offset our costs.
When we travel, we will be divided into groups we call families made of 10 to 12 students. Each student will have a buddy that they must be with at all times. After students pick up with their buddy, roommates are assigned if families are formed. They will then meet with their chaperones for future planning. Our senior advisor will pair at least 2 chaperones with each family, ensuring that at least one chaperone has experience traveling on prior senior trip.
Each family will plan their own itinerary to see all the sights New York has to offer. Families in the past have visited art museums, Central Park, and Wall Street. We will have the opportunity to experience various cultures by going to visit Chinatown and Little Italy. By combining individual family tours with the whole group activities, we will maximize our experience.
Our class is excited for the possibility of traveling to New York City. We are here tonight to ask for your permission to continue tradition and to represent Fairborn High School and the Fairborn community during our educational class trip to New York City. Thank you.
Thank you, senior class officers. Next presentation is, as was mentioned a little bit ago, the Unity Day this past Friday here at Fairborn High School. To do a presentation, we have Principal of Fairborn High School, Mr. Waylon Stiegel, and some staff members along with him.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. I would like to start off by thanking you, the Board of Education, Superintendent Mr. Lally, and all the participants who worked to allow our Unity Through STEAM event to happen on September 1st. Your support was tremendous, and we couldn't have made this happen otherwise. On behalf of our STEAM committee, I would like to personally thank Mr. Lally, our central office staff, and board members for coming over to be active participants in our event. Thank you to Dr. Brackenhoff, our district curriculum director, for your support and helping us find ways to meet over the summer to ensure we could put together an event our staff, students, and community could be proud of. To all the businesses, colleges, and military, thank you for taking the time to help us make this event a success. Your participation was paramount. Our goal was to introduce our students to college and career opportunities, to help engage their minds with an end goal of helping them find a path for success, all while continuing to stay with the intended theme of unity. I would like to take just a moment to introduce the real stars of this event. Mrs. Mandy Taylor, Ms. Rachel Souder, Mrs. Bridget Lanning, Ms. Kelly Baudette, Ms. Rachel Liebert, Mrs. Sarah Fulton, and Ms. Lexi Nick. This group put in countless hours to plan the event, and they couldn't have made a bigger splash in the lives of our students. I would now like to take a moment and turn it over to our esteemed stars for a brief overview of the day.
Hey everybody, I'm Mandy Taylor. So yeah, our STEAM event, we're going to start with the timeline for it. Thank you for introducing us, Mr. Spiegel. It was a sweltering day, but we do want to define that STEAM does stand for something. Traditionally, the word STEAM was kind of an extension of the STEM acronym, and it included the arts. But in some of our trainings that we've been doing, we've been lucky enough to do over the past couple of months, it's kind of shifted because the idea of STEAM needs to be more inclusive, because really there's opportunity for all courses of study for this and extension for this. So STEAM, actually, the acronym we are using for our endeavors are strategies that engage all minds. And we wanted to make sure that this would encompass every single staff member at this building, because we all know that it only takes one staff member to make that connection with a kid. So we wanted to umbrella everybody under this. So again, we've been introduced. We appreciate the introduction. Just a brief timeline of how this all came together as kind of a whirlwind, wonderful moment. In mid-June, Wayland came to us and said that Dr. Brackenhoff found us some money to basically fund us to have about 5 7-hour meetings to try to do something curriculum-based that is going to involve all of the students, and we jumped on it. We absolutely did. So within a day or two, we pulled together a group of power hitters based on their skills, based on past events that they have been involved in, and based on their content that they teach and the range of students that they connect with. So June to July, we just got to work. We just made sure we blanketed everybody we could think of. We called all of these companies, we emailed all of these companies and universities, and we thought, if we get 15, we're going to be lucky. This is going to be a success. We had to shut the door like 2 weeks later because it was a windfall. None of us even contacted the Dayton Chamber of Commerce, and all of a sudden they're calling us. We're like, oh my, we're like a thing. They are coming to us, like we almost didn't know what to do with it. So, so having more is always better, and having to make those accommodations was a lot of fun for us. But through it, we kind of built the canoe as we were in the water. So we developed a system for how we were going to RSVP all of our guests, how we were going to direct the programming, guest accommodations, update information to them so that when they came in, they felt comfortable and they felt welcomed. But then there was the student component, so it was preparing the students for what was coming, how we were going to make it meaningful and engaging for them, and how do you get strangers from the community to engage with high school students. It's hard enough as a teacher who's trained to do it. So we really tried to bridge that gap, getting sponsorship and community services that would come in. In August, we just continued to communicate, and we really narrowed things down. We brought the staff on board. Everybody on this staff was amazing. Everybody said, let's just jump in, let's try it. All of these teachers started volunteering to help us, and in September, we had the event. Post-surveys have already gone out to all of the staff. The student ones are going out tomorrow, and then we are going to do post-survey data with all of our guests next week. And we're going to pull all that information together. It's going to pair very nicely with our Pathful Explore career exploration tool. This is getting funded for us by the Greene County ESC for this year and next year, so all of our students have already taken this career inventory. So yeah, and hopefully we'll just keep being able to do this as we go. So I know Wayland said it was countless hours, but we did get together and we decided, or we figured out it was probably over 600 hours worth of collective work that we all happily did. Okay, and that's all our people. We are not going to read them. That's everybody that showed up.
The game,
Yeah,
invited.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, we did have some cancellations at the last minute, so. But yeah, we can absolutely share this in, and I think we might have already shared this in to Pam. We did have some Fairborn faces there. We were really surprised. Fondrest Environmental, that's across the street behind the Taco Bell. Serendipitously, we ran into David Choi, who actually was a senior class president, and he works there. So he was able to actually come in and do the presentation for Fondrest. Jerry Browning, He held together the center of the STEAM experience room and had, I think, really good
Yeah, it was
success
fun. It was
engaging
fun,
with
yeah.
the students.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully getting some more people into the program that Kelly Gaudette pretty much established here at this school and is continuing to develop. Dan Kirkpatrick, who is a friend to all the schools all the time. He came in and offered his services with his experiences with Calamityville. The kids apparently loved the tourniquets. We weren't sure how they would be, and they were right in. They're like, "Can I put it on my arm?" And he's like, "Sure, go ahead." And obviously Waylon was here to help us as well. And Lexi Nick, who is a former grad, she was one of the teachers that actually participated in this event with us. And that's just a little smattering of all of the different programs that were here that we were able to get pictures of. Turns out we were not good moms. We did not get good pictures of our kids because we were busy doing other things. I said it was kind of like your own wedding. We're glad. Yeah, everybody else had a good time. We were very, very busy, which is the way it's supposed to be. So you can see a lot of engagement. Steve?
Our STEAM Bonanza, that's strategies that engage all minds. We really wanted to represent the course offerings that we have here at the high school itself. Almost every department was represented in that event. You can see a list of some of them. All of the science courses were represented. As a science teacher myself, that made me happy. We also had some outside guests in that region, like Dan Kirkpatrick for Calamityville. We also had Boonshoft bring their inflatable planetarium, sponsored by Wagner Subaru, which the kids loved.
The teachers did too on their break.
That's true. That's true. And we had the AFRL Grill, the Gaming Research Integration and Learning Lab, come and present a virtual reality experience, which the kids also loved.
When we first started planning the different sessions that our students would move through, one of the things that we knew we wanted to include was the opportunity for them to participate in some sort of community service event. And we reached out to Crayons to Classrooms, who gave us a few ideas to choose from. We actually ended up doing 2 different types of journals that our students cut and assembled that day. I don't have a final count on them yet. We're still going through them and bundling them up, but they will be delivered to Crayons to Classrooms. If you're not familiar with this organization, they serve schools all across the Miami Valley in multiple counties. They provide school supplies and materials, including Fairborn primary and intermediate schools they serve.
Oh, Mrs. Bridget Lanning can't be here today. She's got some appointments after school. So, but then we did carry on after the morning session where we rotated the kids through all of these different experiences. There was also a guest speaker. And then they did get to go outside and have their traditional field day for Unity Day, which we found out with a shorter amount of time, we maximized the kids' enjoyment and their engagement. We saw a lot less disciplinary issues, which was nice because they were busy doing productive things. Everybody got fed. There were a couple little hiccups there, but by the end of the day, everybody got fed. We had a lot of positive activities out on the field, a lot of good experiences. We got good feedback from that. There was fundraisers from the clubs. We had raffle prizes. Everybody was there to receive their raffle prizes. And we had really good participation in the pep rally. I know that that's been a challenge in the past, but they really got everybody up and moving. So, and Haley Webb was a big part of that. She was a huge part of that. So. And that's it. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is the presentation of the state and national financial reporting awards from our treasurer, Mr. Kevin Philo.
Our technology guru sets up the next presentation. Myself, Kevin Philo, treasurer, assistant treasurer Kevin Burr. We also have payroll specialist Peggy Stiegels here. Just wanted to present to the Board of Education. This is, I don't know how many years in a row that we got the Auditor of State award with distinction in the state of Ohio. We also were awarded the National Financial Awards from the Government Finance Officers Association and the National Association of School Business Officials. So, I'd like to thank our staff. I'm a big picture type of person. These people make sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and they keep me out of jail and keep us everything up and running. They're the ones that really earn these awards, but by doing their great work day in and day out. With that, the board will come up, get a picture. We'll have a press release about tomorrow. I invited my staff to be up here, but they declined. They did not want to be in the picture.
We'll drag her out.
I forced them 1 year. Berg in the middle here. Up in on the outside. President, get on that side. Where? So I can hand you the award.
Oh. Not to me.
Make sure Peggy's in the picture.
You'll be in the picture. Awesome, thank you. Good job, guys.
Good job. Congratulations.
Is Emily still here?
No?
Yeah, use the microphone for Emily.
Yes.
So it must be September. This is when I come and we approve our final year annual forecast. 5-year forecast is mandated by the state of Ohio. You do it twice a year. The major one is due by the end of November. I've been doing these for 33 years before they were mandated by the state. Just a little overview. It's sort of our best guess. To try to predict finances, is try to like pick lottery tickets 5 years ahead of time. It's a little difficult, but they're our best guess at this time. Board of Education will have the presentation in front of them because the purple on this really makes it hard to read, so I apologize to the audience. The 2 years in red are the last year's 2 years actual. The light blue is actual fiscal year 2023 that we ended. And then roughly I have 6 years going forward, so it's one more than the official one. In terms of we ended the year, roughly July 1, 2023, with $33.456 million in our ending in our general fund. We still have $2.6 million left in the CARES money, federal money. That money will be spent by the end of this year. But just to show in terms of our total package of where we're at, we're in a strong, stable financial position. We've continued for the last 10 years, and hopefully we'll continue for the next 10 years or more. Interesting things to point out that are a little bit different is the state of Ohio, the state funding for there, projected to go up 16.4%. That's from the new state budget that was passed by the legislature in July. Those numbers for 24 and 25 are pretty much set in stone, unless there's an economic disaster and they cut money during the biennial budget. The next 4 years after that, I've roughly plugged in only 3% increases, so somewhat conservative, but that shows in there. This also shows a levy to be on the ballot, proposed possibly November of 2024. It shows a $4.5 mil levy that would be passed in November 2024. Would first be collected in January of 25. So that way you only have half a year collection in fiscal year 25 and then a full year collection in 26 and forward. In terms of, we have not passed an operating levy here at Fairborn Schools since 2007. So to go 17 years between operating levy successes is amazing given the state of Ohio funding and the world we live in. Roughly, I'm going to show you the other slides, we're about 50% locally funded, 50% state. Okay? So if that levy would pass, it roughly predicts out another 6 years of financial stability. On the income tax showed good increases from the previous years. So we're looking forward to that going forward. Everything else is pretty much stays the same. When we get down to expenditures, we are a service government. We do provide a service, which means we have people. People are our biggest expense. You'll see roughly the number in blue shows continuing the closing the gap plan for this year, about another $2 million. But roughly for the future, is I've plugged in a plus 4.1% increase in salaries. That represents a 3% placeholder that will be determined in negotiations. The number could be higher, it could be lower. It's just a place setter only. The other 1.1% is our average that we spend on educational and years of experience increase. So this doesn't show room for adding 27 teachers, et cetera, maintaining where they're at. In terms of, I do show numbers here for health insurance. The number below it is sort of a worst-case scenario. Instead of if they didn't go up 5 or 7%, if they went up 12 to 15%. So that's sort of a worst-case scenario. I factored out of this worst-case scenario here, out of this number, put it back in these numbers below. So in terms of a worst-case scenario, shows where we'd be at. But in terms of a worst-case scenario, we're still right in this $30 million range, which is a fantastic place to be. Other than that, no large increases, decreases. In terms of our revenues, we talk about where we get our money from. It's roughly a 50-50 split. 34% real estate taxes, 11.7% income tax, and then 5.6 other. So when you see then the red, state foundations, state exemptions, and other state are here. So it's roughly a 50-50 split. Okay? We've been fortunate that this part of the pie has grown up a little bit. You know, this is decreased over the years. But in terms of, we can't just, we have to go back to the voters at some time given our funding is. Total projected revenues, roughly $55.5 million for this year. And these are all general fund only. Our expenditures, as I said, we're a government that provides a service. We need people. We need teachers, we need bus drivers, secretaries, classroom aides, etc. We spend the majority of our money on people. Roughly 57.4% on salaries, other 22.6% on benefits. In terms of the other things are, in terms of purchase services, contracts out, etc. So roughly our total projected expenditures about 57.8. Ending cash balance highlights. In terms of the peak here at 23, they'll drop slightly in 24 in the future. Levies passed, they'll remain pretty much consistent. That's the way treasurers love to see balances. It's just nice and boring. Okay? Usually you'll see this up and down. You pass a levy, revenues go up. You start exceeding more, and in cash you go down. This, boring. Boring, and we love it. Per pupil expenditures, each year, as I pull out these charts to show how we compare to other places. This goes back a year. The Department of Education goes back to the fiscal year 2022. In terms of it's been a little bit of change over the years, but in terms of Dayton, it has always been the highest. In terms of they face a different clientele than what we have. You'll see statewide average is in black. That's across the entire state of Ohio. They spend roughly about $15,000 per student. At Fairborn here, we're in the blue. That is $13,213, significantly below the statewide average in black, significantly below the group average in yellow, and then just slightly above Greene County. So you can see that when we compare to, I'm trying to pull up districts that we compare to somewhat in our demographics and in our geographic area, in terms of travel with West Carrollton, et cetera, but also throwing the Greene County schools. And you see that Montgomery County, on average, spends higher than Greene County does. So, just a little interesting there. Keep in mind this chart versus this chart. These districts are in the same order that they were for expenditures. But this shows the average income. And in terms of a lot of districts that have poor incomes and need to spend more per pupil to take care of some of those remediation problems. And in terms of the statewide average, it's a little bit higher, and in terms of a lot higher than where we're at. But in terms of the expenditure per pupil, what stands out here is Bellbrook. Bellbrook should be over on this side in terms of their income, but their expenses expenditure per pupil is low. Fairborn has Fairborn's has increased because they're closing the gap plan, the extra $2 million that we spent over the last couple of years per year has bumped us up somewhat. We've bumped over a couple places. So just interesting when we talk about demographics, when we talk about income, you look at the ability to pay. As I do, direct comparison between Fairborn, Trotwood, and Huber Heights. Fairborn, expenditure per pupil is $13.2 thousand. Our average income is $52.1. Trotwood, their expenditure per pupil is 38% higher, but their average income is 43% lower. Trotwood does an excellent job of funding their schools in terms of they do make that a priority. Huber Heights is roughly 2.8% higher in expenditures, and their average income is about 3.2. So it's pretty close. The statewide expenditure, roughly statewide, is 11% higher, but the average income is 74% higher. So we try to show value, not just count the dollars we have, but to show value that we do have. And when we get state test results in, I coordinate with Dr. Brackenhoff, and I'll take those same graphs, and then we'll show results. In the last couple of years, we've shown extraordinary results versus what our expenditures have been. Same things as before, what we always strive for, the financial communication and education, and we've done for the last 5 years to try to improve the finances. Any questions? Thank you.
Next is the facilities update, Mr. Patrick.
I'll go ahead and start at the primary school. As many of you have seen in the paper, we have advertised for Phase 3B at the primary school, which includes parking lots and playgrounds. Those solicitation of bids are open with a base bid of $2.7 million. There's another $800-some thousand in alternates for a total cost of estimated at $3.5 million. Those bids will be open next Friday. We had a pre-bid meeting. We had 4 contractors that were actually on site. We need at least 3 contractors to bid. So we'll see how that goes. At the intermediate school, we're finishing up punch lists. Some of the landscaping items will get completed this weekend. They should be on site doing those and working in the library or the media center and the teacher's lounge upstairs. Also, I'd like to make sure that we recognize the intermediate school PTO. Those individuals are working with that administrative team to add some recess equipment. I think 2 gaga pits, another device, and maybe even a set of swings. So they're doing a great job. In probably the October board meeting, the goal is to have on the agenda a company or 2 that we'll be using for the moving process next summer. So we're waiting on 1 more bid. We were able to get only 2 bids, so we'll see how that goes. At the new high school, the changes happen on site weekly. You can see that's pretty remarkable. Work continues in the Performing Arts Center, the arena. The outside curb work and parking lot work has started. The athletic complexes are going really well. Grandstands on the home side of the stadium are going in. Playing surfaces have been graded off, and the irrigation lines are going in on the practice fields. We are in the middle of a builder's risk claim on site. We've had 2 either surges or power outages due to trees falling on the power lines at Garland. That basically caused a 3-phase system to be a 2-phase leg, causing approximate damage to 350 light fixtures and 2 VFD units. So we're in the process of trying to figure that out. Estimated cost of damage is about $250,000. We have the insurance inspector is supposed to be on site Tuesday next week. Arrangements have been made for a company to come and basically dismantle the bleachers at Baker Stadium, the visitor side that we bought a couple years ago. Actually, we didn't buy them, we got them given to us by West Carrollton. We paid to have them moved. We've reached out to the same company, and we look to basically start to tear them apart as soon as football season's over, transport them over to the new site sometime in November. If the pads are ready, we'll place them. There are 3 sections. One will go at the baseball field behind home plate, one at the softball field behind home plate, and one at the tennis courts. So we'll take and use all those areas. We've also been working with Musco, who is the company, one of the companies that installed the 4 new light poles at the soccer field that we talked about. And when we purchased those, we knew that someday we might want to move these. So we have been talking with them about putting 4 foundations in right now, so that when the fences are up, it's harder to get those foundations in place. So even though we may not be moving those light poles for 3 or 4 years, we will be putting the foundations in place. So the foundations will be around the tennis courts. So working with the electrical engineers and everything with the lighting systems, making sure we have enough power, running conduit underneath the driveway to make sure that we can power all those. Those locations will be placed around the tennis courts out at the new site. And we also have, we were able to find so far just 2 bidders that are willing to give us a bid on basically removing the brush on both sides of the deep ditch and then along the fence row. That's a tricky one to say, Katie, don't get this.
No, I'm laughing because we did that. Do you remember doing that? I don't want to do that job again.
So we're gonna try to get some bids for that. They would, basically it's almost 1.5 miles long of debris that needs to be cut out. When you do the fence line, the west side of the ditch and the east side of the ditch, it ends up being about 1.5 miles. So we do have 2 bidders for that. Finding the 3rd bidder might be difficult. We've been told it's too difficult of a job by a couple of
That's the
people.
only summer I ever had poison ivy and chiggers at the same time. So I don't blame anybody for not wanting to do that job.
So once again, that'll hopefully be something that I have on the agenda for October. And then on tonight's agenda, on page 12, you'll see there's addendum L and M. L, I just want to point out, is the change order for the storage facility. And M is referring to the legal language that we got from our legal counsel regarding the storage and the indoor training facility, so that the change order can be completed by Peterson. So we just wanted to make sure that we're protected by legality and everything. Any questions?
Jeff, on the removal of trees and such, will there be any removal on the highway side or just on our side?
We cannot go on the other side of the fence.
Okay.
That's ODOT's.
Not even with their permission?
At this point in time, they're not wanting to give us permission to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's all the presentations we have.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the budget and finance. If we could get a motion and a second, then we can talk about any of the items in that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So in terms of the 4 items that are in there, are there any questions or any comments, Mr. Pilot?
5-year forecast represents what I showed you there. The only exceptions are is the levies are at the bottom, and the closing gap money is already in the salaries for this year. The spending plan is my best guess, month by month, of how we'll spend money. Update the board every month on how that is, and then the permanent appropriations and the monthly financial report.
Is there any other questions or comments? No. Okay, Mr. Pilot?
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Landon?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Steininger?
Yay.
Mr. Browning?
Yes. Motion carried. The next section is administrative reports and superintendent recommendations. There's a lot of different things in here, including the resolutions that Mr. Patrick talked about. It goes all the way to the top of page 13. If we could get a motion and a second, then we could have a discussion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion on any of the topics? Okay. Well,
Mrs. Milan,
Yes.
Mr. McCord,
Yes.
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger,
Yay.
Mr. Browning.
yes. Motion carries. Next is gifts and donations. Katie, could you do the honors?
Yes, of course. The Fairborn City Schools Board of Education would like to gratefully acknowledge the following gifts and donations from Abiding Christ Church, food and supplies to the Hawks Pantry. Audrey Ernst, food and supplies to Hawks Pantry. First Presbyterian Church, food and supplies to Hawks Pantry. From Hyatt Plumbing, $200 for the boys soccer team. From the IUE-CWA Local 755, $500 to the tennis team. Kearney and Company, 36 book bags filled with school supplies for FPS and FIS students. And from Barb McDermott, food and supplies to the Hawks Pantry. Thank you.
Next would be work session.
Mr. President, we anticipate a short work session, 2 items on it. After the work session, we'll take a 5 to 10 minute break, and then we will go into a